now to our next speaker, who is going to be equally as powerful. I just want to, I'm just putting up my notes here because I had lost them. And I just wanted to check who's next up. Oh, it's Lois Wagner. Lois, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, actually, Lois. But Lois is a speaker, a storyteller, an author, a mentor, an inspirer, a learning facilitator, and an empowering coach. She's a public speaking coach for people who are facing life or business challenges or adversity and want to develop resilience and grit to survive. And people who want to understand forgiveness is to find freedom. So Lois, thanks for joining us on the GST stage today.
Thanks very much. Hi, everybody. So my story began, I was working outside in a courtyard, beautiful summer's evening. And the first that I was aware that anybody else was near was when there was a man behind me with his hand around my throat and a screwdriver held to my neck. Well, you all know about fight, flight, or flee. I fought with everything I had. I didn't know how to fight, but I fought. He stabbed me in the ear. He stabbed me in the mouth. He broke my teeth. He strangled me. He grabbed a glass. He smashed it. He came at me at my stomach. He cut my stomach open. I was desperate. I stopped fighting, and this evil person pushed me into a corner and raped me. Well, that changed my life. 14 years later, this man had been given a 25-year prison sentence for what he did to me. 14 years later, I was living outside of the country, and I was coming home for my first holiday. And in those 14 years, I'd never found out what had happened to him. Was he still in prison? Had he been paroled? Was he alive? Was he dead? I'd never bothered to find out. And for some reason, I decided to find out. And they told me that he was coming up for parole on the day after I arrived back in the country. It was too much of a coincidence because the law had just changed, allowing victims of serious crimes to attend parole hearings. So I decided to go, much against the advice of family and friends. So there I was, heading off to this prison, the first person in the country to do so, to attend one of these parole hearings. They didn't know how to handle me. I didn't know how to handle me. I didn't know what I was going to say. I had done some research on forgiveness just in case, but I never thought that I could forgive this man. There were so many side effects from that event. I lost my business as a result. I had psychosomatic back problems that kept me bedridden for 6 months, all as a direct result of what he did to me. And so I never thought that forgiveness was possible. But I sat there in that parole hearing and listened to all of his rap sheet and what he had done and what he had not done in prison. And when they had finished, they asked me if I had anything to say. And I can't remember exactly what I said, but I said something to the effect was, I want to compassionately and completely forgive you. And I want to take the responsibility from me, and I'm handing it from my higher self, and I'm giving it back to your higher self. You must now take responsibility. Everybody was dumbstruck. Nobody knew what to say. And as I left, they said to me that they would tell me in 7 days if he got parole or not. And the most amazing thing happened. I looked at them and I said, no, I don't want to know if he gets parole or not. The beauty of forgiveness, the absolutely amazing thing about forgiveness is that you are bonded to that person, to that event, to that situation. And when you forgive, you're breaking that bond and you're setting yourself free. And I just looked at them, I said, no, I don't need to know, because he now has nothing to do with me anymore. What happens to him is of no concern to me. I am now free. I will never forget what happened, but I'm free of that emotional pain, that anger, the hatred, the fear. And I had a lot of fear because I had been attacked. And breaking that bond released me completely to this wonderful, free and peaceful world. And so I say to people, don't wait 14 years. It's not easy to forgive when something is still fresh in your mind. I could not forgive at the beginning, even if I had wanted to, because when you've faced some kind of trauma, you've got to deal with those emotions, that anger, that hate. And I didn't deal with those emotions. And that resulted me having psychosomatic back problems, because I was loading my back with all my emotions and all my problems and not dealing with it. And so my back eventually collapsed, and that was me finished. And so you can't forgive when you're in that state. You need to deal with your emotions, but don't wait 14 years. And forgiveness is like a muscle. You can all learn forgiveness. And the previous speaker was speaking about her gratitude journal. Keep a gratitude journal. It's powerful. But in addition to a gratitude journal, keep a forgiveness journal. We can forgive. We don't think we need to forgive, but we need to forgive. Practice using this muscle of forgiveness. And every day, 3 things you can forgive yourself for. Forgive yourself for kicking the dog, for eating your slipper, for burning the toast, for forgetting to phone your friend for her birthday. They sound silly. They sound, oh, I don't have to forgive myself for that. But it's building that muscle, and it's making forgiveness a habit. I had to forgive myself for not knowing how to fight, for not dealing with my emotions, for drinking too much afterwards. And then forgiving the other person. 3 things every day. Forgive the dog for eating your slipper. Forgive your husband for forgetting to bring the milk home. Forgive the friend who forgot to phone you for your birthday. Again, build that muscle. Use that muscle. It is the most powerful thing. Today, forgiveness is so easy for me. I call myself Lois, your friend for forgiveness, because it comes naturally now. I can't harbor that resentment and that hatred and that fear. It really breaks you free from that fear, from that angst and that agony. I see we've lost our host. I hope she comes back. So please, everybody, practice that forgiveness every day, 3 things, until it becomes part of who you are. It's the most empowering thing you can ever do. So I just say to everybody, don't wait. Do it sooner rather than later, but after you have dealt with your emotions. Pick yourself up from that situation. Divorce, separate the incident from your emotions. Laugh, find the funny. There is funny in it. I've got lots of funny stories that happened afterwards. Find the funny, laugh, learn. What is the lesson you've learned from that? Forgive yourself, forgive others, take action, and move on to greater things. That is my Pliffim formula that I use, and I invite everybody to forgive and to fly free.
Thank you so much, Lois. That was really, really emotional and impactful. Again, I think that you had an amazing idea there with the journal. I think that is something that I want to adopt, because I realized as I was listening to you speaking, how often we probably have thoughts where we need to forgive ourselves just for little moments, you know, or forgive others around us. Like when you mentioned the dog eating the slipper. And I think that could be very powerful for people who are finding it difficult to forgive. And I love the way you talked about, you know, embracing the fact that you've been through a trauma and that you do need to recover from that trauma before you can expect to forgive. But I love the message that you give, to not wait too long. I'm sorry for what happened to you. A terrible experience, but I am very glad that you were able to share it with us, because I know that in sharing you have inspired many people. So thank you so much for talking about that today. Absolutely brilliant. Does anyone have any questions in the panel for